Hello, hello everyone, and welcome to the December Open Studio Night at SiNaCa Studios. We are broadcasting our live stream tonight for 3 hours. We are going to start with our tree lighting ceremony, and then we're going to proceed with a demonstration for the rest of the time we have with you tonight. So if you are local to Fort Worth, please come out and hang out with us. We've got the beignet bus on site serving up some yummy beignets and some coffee and other hot drinks. And we're going to be live streaming and we're going to be demoing for 3 hours. So come hang out with us if you're local. We are located on Magnolia Avenue in Fort Worth, Texas. Awesome, awesome. Well, those of you who are just joining us, welcome. This is our annual tree lighting. This was a ceremony that was started by a dear friend, Jim Bowman, who had a studio in this area for a very long time. He was out in Dallas, Texas. And he's moved out to North Carolina, and we've taken over this tradition from him. So we do this event every year in December. So if you are local, come hang out with us tonight. We're going to be doing this demonstration of the lighting the tree for the next maybe 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to continue with a Christmas themed demonstration for the rest of the evening tonight. If you are not local, you can definitely hang out with us online. And feel free to jump into the chat and ask us any questions you might have about hot glass making. Feel free to also share this video with friends, family, anyone you think might be interested in glass. It is something we love to do, and we love to share our love of it.
Thank you, Jim.
So as you can see, glass is super gooey when it is at this temperature. The temperature of the glass coming out of the furnace is about 2100 degrees. So quite liquidy. We call it like, it's got a consistency similar to honey, or yeah, honey is actually a great descriptor, except very, very hot. As it cools down, it tends to become more like a taffy. But when it comes right out of the furnace, it is pretty much like honey. Can I decorate too? I want to jump in there too. Is that okay?
Yeah, you want this one?
Sure. Or can I grab one of the punties from over there?
Let's go on this one.
All right. All right.
Let's warm up a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You want this one instead? It's smaller. Sure. Trade, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So you guys don't forget, if you are local, we're going to be doing this for a little bit longer. Walk on down the street if you're in Fort Worth. We're located on Magnolia Avenue. Thank you. After our tree lighting ceremony, we are going to be demonstrating for a couple more hours. The plan is to make a little gingerbread man. So our team's going to be demonstrating for a little while. If you want to come out and hang out with us.
Wood. What did they put in that wood?
All right, you want to cut me first? Thank you. So you guys, if you're not able to come out this year, we will be doing this again next year. There's a bunch of people out here watching. But we do this every year, so it has become a tradition for us. We're super grateful to Jim Bowman for passing it on to us. To allow us to continue this tradition.
Okay, so hot glass might come falling on the ground. Careful. Comes over here.
Don't touch it, got it?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's hot. Thanks, Clifton. That fire is getting pretty hot. Awesome. So you guys, if you aren't familiar with SiNaCa Studios, we are a nonprofit 501c3, and we do a bunch of stuff for the community. This is one of them. So these open studio nights happen totally free for the public. We do them once a month on the second Friday of every month. And it's just a way of hanging out with you guys, showing you what we do, sharing our love for glass. So feel free to come out and hang out with us. TM behind you. So every month is a little different. This month, we are featuring our team and a tree lighting ceremony. And we feature a different artist every month, almost every month.
Yeah. You really see the colors now. Yeah.
I like
Still trailing? A little bit. Woo! I'm still trailing a little bit. All right. Hey T, do you want this? Do you want to decorate? It just needs to be marbled down, but if you want to. Right. So you guys, this programming, this Open Studio Night programming is brought to you through people like yourselves. People who have donated to our organization, people who have come taken classes with us. This is how we were able to do this totally free programming. So if you're interested in supporting us, check out our website. We do have a way for you to donate on there. I know Heidi tends to listen to me talking, and she'll probably throw up a text code that you can text to donate. But you can also find that information on our website. So we teach classes in glassmaking and hot glass making, which is a hot studio. This is the studio we're featuring tonight, but we also do classes in flameworking and kiln forming, as well as cold working, which doesn't get talked about too often. So there's a bunch of different ways you can work with glass. The hot studio, the hot shop, is one that you might be familiar with. The one that we're watching them work with right now. While the glass is in its molten state, you can manipulate it, change it, blow it, sculpt with it, do all sorts of stuff with it. The flameworking studio is pretty similar, but it's all done in front of a torch. So they use a torch and heat the glass and shape the glass in front of the torch. In the kiln forming studio, if you're heat averse, the kiln forming studio is one of the best ways to work with glass without being exposed to any heat whatsoever. So you work with the glass cold and then put it into a kiln and heat it up so it can melt into its final form. The cold shop is a studio we don't talk about too often, but it is vital for all three studios. The cold shop is where we grind glass, cut it, polish it, and you can do a whole lot in a cold shop in terms of making really, really cool objects. So Michael is putting the last couple of tinsel on the tree. We're gonna put a couple more strands, and then we're gonna go ahead and start our demonstrations for this evening. So remember, you guys, if you're watching tonight, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. One totally free way to help us out is by sharing this video with your friends. This is probably one of our coolest demonstrations of the year. So if you think someone is interested in glass at all, tell them about us. We are in gift giving season. One of the coolest gifts you can actually give is a gift card to come blow glass, come make glass. And that is something we offer. So if there's someone still on your wish list, especially like someone who has everything and you're struggling to figure out, what do I get this person? This is probably one of those things that they haven't done that they'd probably love. So think about it. Not only are you giving a person something they're probably going to be really, really happy to receive, I'm pretty excited to come do. But you're also supporting your favorite nonprofit. We are running a special, so if you come in to get a gift card over the season, we do have a discount available. So there's a certain amount that you will spend, and we bump up the value of the gift card a little bit. So check out our website for those details. It is a good opportunity to get a good present for someone. And if a gift card's not something you're interested in, we also have a full gallery where you can come check out the really, really beautiful handmade glass items that we have for sale. All of this stuff helps support us, helps us support our mission. Things like bringing you demonstrations like this free of cost. This is how we pay for it. So come check us out if you're interested in glass whatsoever. And feel free to check out our website as well for information about our classes, about all the stuff we do. right, you guys, so we are starting with our demonstration for the evening. So like I said, we do a demonstration of glass making once a month at our open studio demonstration night. Happens on the second Friday of every month. So remember that if you are hanging out with us online, you can ask us questions through the chat. We're always happy to answer questions as we're making things. And if I don't know the answer to something, I'm always happy to ask the other team members. All right.
Kevin, I don't know if you want to bring those bleachers back in. How do you want to do that?
All right. So don't forget, you guys, if you are local, we're going to be demonstrating for a couple more hours until 9 p.m. So if you're located anywhere near Fort Worth, Texas, come on down. Come hang out with us. We've got the beignet bus on site. They are serving up hot drinks, hot coffee, beignets, and hot cocoa. So do be sure to bring the family out. This is a fun night to hang out with people. So for those of you who have never watched glass making, you probably have some questions about this. If you do, definitely utilize our chat. I am trying my best to monitor it so that I can try to answer your questions as we go.
This is a very old piece of rod. So it's brown, but it does some weird striking. It's almost got some weird blue streaks in it whenever it's in rod form. So
that's pretty cool.
I'm hoping when we gather over it, it'll all go consistently brown. Otherwise, it'll he'll be a little frosty.
Yeah.
Or old looking.
Yeah.
Gray.
A moldy gingerbread cookie.
Yeah, it might be a little moldy.
Hopefully not. All right.
All right. Get a couple little gathered.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with our studio, we gather glass at about 2100 degrees from this furnace over here. So the glass stays molten in that furnace. As you can see, it's pretty liquidy. Very similar consistency to honey. And then as you work with it, it gets cooler and slowly changes into almost like a taffy-like consistency before it turns hard. So glass will slowly cool down. It'll change stiffnesses as it cools off. So Clifton is using these lovely wooden blocks, a little bit of wet newspaper to shape the glass. The glass is still very hot at this stage, and so you can't really put your hands directly on the material. So you'll notice that we've got a bunch of tools set up on the bench. The glassmaker's tools. And as we go through the demonstration, we're going to see our team use all of these tools as well. So at this stage, the glass looks kind of orange. That color will shift completely when this is cooled down. So that material is still pretty darn hot. And so what we're really seeing is heat in the glass. So in order to make sure the newspaper doesn't burn up too quick, Clifton's gonna keep it wet. So we use wood in this studio quite a bit, but we've always got to keep the wood wet so it doesn't burn up too fast. So Clifton's gathering up another layer of glass. You can see how liquidy the glass is at this temperature. It's pretty liquid. We use reheating chambers to heat up the glass. So just like a potter needs to add water every so often while they're making, glassmakers need to add heat as they're making. So Clifton's using the block, this wooden block, to shape up the glass. We're going for something like a Q-tip shape. Yes.
To the fire.
All right. How many layers of glass are you going to go on?
That's it for the head.
For the head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise it'll get too big.
Got it. So Clifton's primarily working on the head right now. In case you're just tuning in, we are making a gingerbread man. So some of you may recognize that gingerbread guy from Shrek, Jinji. I think that is the inspiration for us tonight. So Tatara's working on the little purple buttons. So this is the inspiration we're going for. We'll see how close we get. This is what we're trying for. So for those of you who are watching with us, feel free to share this video with people you know who might be interested in glassmaking or curious about glassmaking. That's one of the best ways to help us out. Spread the word about us. All right. So when we apply powder to the clear glass, we do it in a variety of crushed up material.
Kev, will you grab this? A
So,
little flash right here, Kev.
so Tatara's working on these little buttons, trying to make them look kind of fluffy and frosted, like a little bit of, like a little bit of candy.
All this stuff.
So when we make a part, we knock it off, and then it goes into this little box to be picked up later. That box is sitting at about, maybe about 1,000 degrees or so.
Those two.
And we're sticking parts in this box so that they can all get assembled later into one giant sculpture. So one of the things you'll notice right off the bat is everyone works kind of like a team. This is a team sport, totally. There's very few glassmakers that work by themselves. And it is surely a lot more difficult to work by yourself as well. So you're gonna see a number of our team members jump in tonight to help make this thing happen. And for those of you who are interested in doing things like this, working in this kind of a studio, or if you're interested in art making, come check us out. Glassmaking is definitely one of those bucket list things. You gotta try it at least once. Is that gonna be another gumdrop button?
Yeah, I'm trying
Awesome.
to get two the same size.
Got
Maybe
it.
4,
Just in case.
just in case. First two I made were really big.
Yeah, got it. So Kevin is shaping this little disc
It's a
with
little,
cork paddles to kind of flatten it out. Remember, we're going for a gingerbread man, so I'm guessing the whole thing's gonna be flat.
yeah. Good? You want me to draw or you want to draw?
I don't want to draw.
That's pretty cute. All right. Yeah, Kevin did great. Kevin drew on the snowman last year. So last year we made a snowman, and Kevin did a little bit of cane drawing on there to make the face. So I think we're gonna see some of that action again tonight.
Yeah.
All right, this is gonna be awesome. So Kevin's got these little rods of colored glass right there. Those are called cane, and they're solid rods of color. What we're gonna do is use a torch. So those of you who try our flameworking classes, you're gonna get to play with one of these guys. It's little torches, a little less intimidating in the flameworking studio, a little smaller. All right. So Kevin's gonna use that torch and that color. He's gonna dance that little color in front of the flame.
Two-tone. See it?
Yeah.
In behind.
You got burnt.
And then as he's doing that, he's heating up the color so that he can draw on the face of this gingerbread man.
Give you a couple little spots to aim at.
All right.
It got burned, the color?
It's kind of two-tone. The top is a little different color.
So some of you out there might be interested in flameworking. Flameworking's super fun. Such a nice hobby to get into. We teach classes in flameworking with borosilicate as well as bead making. So if that's something you're interested in, you know where to find us, hopefully by now, because I mentioned that we're in Fort Worth a few times. All right. So Kevin is starting us off with the eyes.
Yep.
Awesome. So just by adding these little drops of glass, after heating them with a torch, we can get color in very specific areas. Oh, that's gonna be so awesome. Beautiful. Remember, this is about teamwork, so Clifton's fine-tuning a little bit, mashing it in with a tag. And for those of you who are just joining us, Jinji from Shrek is our inspiration. You can see that back there. So we're using very similar colors to Jinji. Whether the patterns are going to be the same,
You know,
I'm not certain.
high above the eyes.
Right.
Like he's surprised.
Yes, exactly.
Should I start their arms or should we wait to see with this?
Flip.
All right. So one of the tricky things on camera is that we can't really see what Kevin is doing, but if you take a Flameworking class, you're gonna get these special glasses right here that are gonna allow you to see what you're doing. So Kevin can see exactly what he's doing, but we won't be able to see that while the flame is on the glass. And that's just because of the sodium flare in the glass, so. Very nice.
Now I'm just being silly.
Don't be silly.
Don't be.
Unless you make the noise.
I don't know the noise.
What's the noise?
The Jinji noise.
Oh, what's the
Oh my
chin?
god, is he angry? Oh, he's the angry Jin.
He looks a little curious, that's for sure.
There's an angry Jin, so it's okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you have, if those of you who have kids out there who have watched Shrek, go ahead and show them this video because they'll probably get a kick out of this.
Okay, so it's gonna be a long one, huh?
Yeah.
Start at the bottom or start at the corner of his mouth?
I was gonna start. I don't know.
Now that you say that,
Yeah,
maybe the corner.
All right. Oh yeah, so the next thing that we're putting on is the mouth. Jinji's mouth is pretty, it's like a big O shape. Oh man, you guys see that? That's so cool. Oh, that's so perfect. Your glove's burning. All right.
I think that's pretty alright.
That is, oh my gosh, that's Jinji. So Clifton's gonna do a little fine tuning. You guys don't forget, if you wanna come out, we're gonna be doing this for about a couple more hours. That looks so good. So this is definitely not a happy Jinji. He looks a little concerned, but we've been getting our inspiration from the movie in which he is.
Anything or just leave it alone?
He's kind of screaming about
Oh, I'd say
the
just
Muffin
leave it.
Man,
Maybe flatten the lips down a little.
Yeah.
and so because I think we've been looking at that scene quite a bit, he's gonna look a little concerned tonight. All right. So Clifton's using the tag, which is basically a little steel plate, just to do a little bit of fine tuning, fine shaping. That red looks like it reduces a little bit. So his mouth might end up being a little bit silvery, we shall see. Oh, no. Pretty nice. You did a good job on that, Kevin.
Yeah, nice work, Kevin.
All right. So this is going to go in the box.
Yeah, put this sucker in the box.
Grab it or
He looks worried about his feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna flash this down.
All right. That's pretty awesome. All right, so we got the head taken care of. I think the next step is taking care of the
We're
arms.
gonna make some arms.
Yeah.
The color looks really even now. That's cool.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So, the next step is the arms. Are you working on that too? Awesome. All right. So we're making these in parts.
give us a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah.
All right. So we're making these in parts, which means that once Clifton flashes this down a little bit, which means evening out the temperature, he's going to put it in that box where we saw Tatara putting those little gumdrop buttons in. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna break the head off the cook.
So using a tool, he's going to create a cold spot, tap the back of the punty or the blowpipe, and then it goes into this box that's sitting at about 1,000 degrees or so. So glass will crack if it cools too fast. We got to watch out for that. And so we're trying to keep the glass in a happy point. It shouldn't get too hot because it's going to melt down. And if it's too cold, it's going to crack. And so finding that happy balance in the middle there is really important. All right. So Tatara's got this piece of color on the end there. So color comes in all sorts of forms. This is one of them called rod, which is basically a chunk of glass. It's like a big old chunk of even glass. And it also comes up as crushed up material, which we call frit, and powder. All right. So, glass blowers get their name from blowing glass. And we use these steel rods that are hollow. So these are hollow tubes that we blow air into. So whenever we're making something hollow, we'll start by putting a little bit of air into the pipe and then blowing it out into a shape. This is something really fun to do with your family if you're thinking about it. Our classes are kind of filling up for December, but we have a lot of openings in January, so think about it. Bring the family out if you want to come hang out, take some classes with us. Remember that we're also a great source for getting a gift card. You can put any amount on a gift card for a recipient. So if there's someone on your gift list that you're having a hard time thinking about what to get them, this might be a good option. Not only are you getting them something pretty cool, but you also get the opportunity to support us and our nonprofit.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
I
looking
have
for a
this,
pipe.
you can keep them the same.
All of those sales help us bring free programming like this to the public. So do consider that when you are shopping this season. Support your local businesses. When you are thinking about what to get someone for Christmas. All right. Huh? To get Jinji? All right.
Yeah, that's what he said. The little boy was like, "You're eating the lollipop too?" And I was like, "That's a good idea. Why not try?"
So
Make it like the snail.
Tatara is using a blow hose to blow
I have a big one. Make it
this bubble out. If you are signed up for a class in this studio, we are using these blow hoses as a way to keep everything sanitary. So if you're a little nervous about coming out, we are still taking quite a bit of precautions in our classes. However, if you are nervous to take a class with us, we do have take-home glass kits. So our Take It, Make It series is a pretty cool option for those of you who are nervous about coming out and taking a class with other people. The Take It, Make It kits on our website are a nice way to hang out, make some glass at home, maybe drink a little wine, or maybe have a family day with the kids. So they are all pretty kid friendly. We have a bunch of materials. They come with the tutorial, so a little video online that guides you through each project. That's a nice way to participate in glass with glass. If you don't want to come take a class, or say you can't come and take a class for whatever reason.
Hey, Kat, did we have this upstairs?
Yeah, it's on the bench. It's on the bench.
Kat, put a hole in the head.
I'm glad we grabbed it. We got it out.
All right.
It's long to the right.
So Tatara is blowing an arm right now, one of the arms of the gingerbread man.
In theory.
Everything's gonna be hollow. We gotta make sure we leave a space so we don't close this off fully. Right. That is pretty cool. All right. So is Clifton?
So the head is pretty brown. This needs to be pretty wide. But skinny because we're going to flatten it, so get a little longer.
All right. So Tatara is putting in what we call a jack line, which is basically a constriction point so we can break the glass away from the blowpipe. The glass tends to need a guideline so that it doesn't crack all over. And that little constriction is our guideline. So when we chill it out and break it off, it wants to break right along that line. All right.
D at the top. The D?
So glassmakers use a little bit of wet newspaper sometimes. That tool is pretty cool because you can put your hands pretty close to the glass with that. And it doesn't burn up because of the water. So the glass rides on a thin layer of steam as you're shaping it. And of course you can see the newspapers burning up, but it doesn't burn up quite as fast as a piece of dry newspaper.
Doesn't look long enough to me. Kev, you want to take a look at this? Ready to squish? Does that look long enough to you?
Yeah, because it's about the same distance. It's a little longer than his head is wide. And if you look at his arms, they're a little bit shorter than his head is wide.
All right.
Yeah, that pile, and then fully work.
You want to put a sweater on to hide the seam?
We'll see. We'll get a seam. And Kev, grab the cord and squish it.
Right on the bench.
All right, so Kevin's getting ready with the corks. We're gonna squish this just like we did with the head, so that we can flatten it out a bit. Awesome. Nice and gentle.
Oh, looks alright.
That looks pretty good.
Goes other right 90.
What?
Ooh, lost them, sorry.
Kev, you want to bend it or are you good with it? I think it's too short.
We can heat it and just let it kind of fall on itself. Yeah, just go up.
Okay.
Way.
All right. All right. So if you are just tuning in, which you might be, we are working on Jinji from Shrek. So a really sassy gingerbread man, basically. So right over here, right now we're working on his arms. We've got his head already done. Tatara's worked on his little gumdrop buttons. And now we're working on his individual arms. So the team's working together in parts. The best way to make something like this that's complex is to make a bunch of small parts so that we can then assemble it all together.
Let's say we just let it kind of go with that. Will be.
So the team's discussing a little bit of what they're planning on doing. Are you going to put a little white stripe on his arm?
Gonna do a little wiggle, or what do you think?
So Kevin, once again, is heating up a little rod of color, this little white rod. So we call this a cane. It's basically a solid color rod. And then he's going to draw those lines on with a torch. So if you've been hanging out with us for a while, you saw him do this with the face of Jinji also.
So what I have
I've learned it by watching
at the end of the pipe.
I'm applying it like more pushing hard into it.
Not bad.
And I put a little bubble in it. Let that
Any
go out.
more, or?
No, that looks
Blow
awesome.
bubble. We're gonna make another arm.
All right.
That's an arm.
Cute.
And then it is hot. You want to touch it?
It's very, very hot. All right. All right. So Clifton and Tatara are trading pipes. Tatara is going to make both the arms in an attempt for them to be pretty similar in size. So for those of you who've never seen glass blowing before, if you're tuning in, we gather our glass from a furnace that sits at about 2100 degrees, pretty much all the time. When the glass comes out of the furnace, it's pretty hot. So what you're seeing right now is not color, it is heat. It's basically the heat coming off of the material. And so Clifton and Tatara are both working together to get these arms made, making sure they're about the same size. Tatara is using a little block to shape up the glass and then blowing into it to inflate it a little bit. Okay. Cool. As we're working, we have to every so often reheat the glass in these reheating chambers. So while Tatara is working, Clifton's kind of fine-tuning the other arm that we just finished.
Right on the nipple of the white.
Remember that little constriction we were talking about earlier? We're making that a little bit finer, so that when we break it off, it breaks off right at that little constriction. Kevin's poking a little hole in the arm. And that's for airflow. It's to make sure that the air inside the form and the air outside the form are able to contract at the same rate. So as the glass cools down, if we make a closed off bubble, the air inside is going to contract and put a lot of inward pressure on that bubble. And it can cause cracking issues in a big sculpture like this. So we put a little hole in it to equalize the pressure. And so I think they're planning on doing that for both arms. But we will see. So Tatara's heating and shaping this glass as she's blowing. She's trying to create a very similar shape to what we had already.
Hey, Cliff, you got a flash? Bring it over here real fast.
What?
You got a flash? Bring it.
We're measuring up size, making sure they're kind of close. Nothing's ever perfectly the same, but we can get pretty close with it. Tatara's got a visual on size now. She's going to heat and blow and shape to make it as similar as possible.
Straight out. We bend it up. I think if it's straight out, we're not going to fit in the hole. So it has to be now.
I'm going to go ahead and pick up the body.
Right. Tatara's going to put in a little constriction. So this move is called putting in a jack line. This is going to be our break off for that piece of glass. So we got to give it a guide. We got to give it a place of break off for everything we do in here. All right. Clifton, what are you working on?
Pick
The
up
leg?
the body.
Okay, got it. All right, all right. So that little contraption inside Tatara's mouth is called a blowhose. If you are coming to blow glass, you're probably going to use one of those. It is basically an extension of that blowpipe. So when she blows into that little tube, it is also inflating the glass on the other end. So we've got a little piece of glass in here in this little pickup oven that Clifton's going to pick up in a little bit. So he's heating up a blowpipe. He's going to come over here and then kind of stick it to a little bar of color. So for those of you who are interested in color, color comes in several different forms. That we just saw is called rod or bar, depending on who you are. People refer to it a little differently, but it's basically a solid chunk of color. This is the nice thing about using rod or bar is that it's gonna give you a really nice even color application compared to some of the other types of glass that we use. So glass manufacturers also will crush up glass and call it frit. Oh yeah, it's got a little bit of stripiness in it, but it seems like the stripiness goes away a little bit as it's cooling down, as it's being worked. Very awesome. All right.
I don't know.
Hey, what way? Oh, this?
Split right down the middle. Look at that sucker.
Perfect.
Pow.
Wow.
So what do we think? Just leave this one straight? And it's gonna kind of.
One.
No, he's not that. Yeah, exactly.
You want to bend it?
All right. So color bar comes as those little rods we talked about, bar. It also comes as frit, which is basically crushed up glass, which comes in different grades. So we have very coarse grade.
Color that's a little unknown.
Oh, got it. We do have very coarse grades of frit and finer grades, with the finest being a powder. Right. So you guys don't forget that we are live for a little bit, and we are kind of monitoring the chat too. So if you have questions about anything you see, feel free to write us online. Our team's always happy to answer questions. Because we do this so often, we sometimes forget that you might have questions that we haven't thought about. So do feel free to pop those questions in the chat so we can answer them for you. All right.
Outside or the other side?
Wait. What did we do on the last one? I'll go check with them. See which side the bin
So Kevin's heating up a little bit of color with this torch.
Where are we going to?
Which side of the...
On the bend left side. I don't know which way he was looking at. No, which side? Which side are you on?
Here, so I start there and go this.
The bend is on this way, on this side. Go ahead, Kev.
So Kevin's heating the glass as he's kind of moving it along that base. And you can kind of draw with the glass while it's hot. So that's our little icing on Jinji.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch you. We're gonna put a hole in it. We'll be good on this side. Go ahead, bud.
Pretty nice. Awesome. That looks great. Is that... All right.
You want to do it here?
So Kevin again is going to put in a little hole in this little arm.
Yep.
So we're using a little
You wanna do it
tungsten
back
rod
Not too low enough.
and a little bit of heat to kind of ream in a hole.
Because on the one we just did, we did it at the very edge of...
Stripes too. See it turn white? It's got like a weird gray blue to it.
And just by reaming in that hole a little bit,
I don't know what this for is. I think once you blow it out, it stops. But when it's thick, it seems to strike.
we're going to allow for the air inside to contract without pulling on the glass too much. All right.
Right at the end of the icing.
Up here?
Yeah.
Looks pretty good.
That looks awesome.
Cute.
That's okay.
No. Not functional. This thing sucks, man. There's no bar, nothing. But it does make me want to make one. Put that down. Hold on, man. You get flash.
Right. So Tatara's gonna put in a little constriction, and we're gonna put this away where we put all the other parts. So sticking it in the box. Bloop.
Oh my god, it's so,
So
cute.
cute. All right. So Clifton's working on the body of Jinji right now. The body, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are the legs going to be a part of the body? Okay, great. So we've got this bubble that he's blowing out. We are going to cut in the legs on this bubble. So I'm guessing he's going to make it fairly large. If it's going to be Jinji's torso as well as his legs. So as Clifton's shaping it, he is also blowing. He's doing this a little differently from Tatara. You saw Tatara use that blowhose. Clifton is blowing into the end of that blowpipe there. All right. So as we make a piece bigger, we gotta gather more glass. And so Clifton is blowing, but he's also not blowing it out too much because we're gonna gather some glass on this rod, and then we are going to shape it after that. Right. So remember, the glass is pretty hot at this temperature.
We got a bigger size. See? Because we got a bigger bird.
All right.
Is that the body?
Look at the body of Jinji. The body and the legs.
Do you think you're gonna need another gather on that? No. All right. So a lot of the tools that we use in here are made out of steel. That table that Clifton is rolling on right now is called a marver. M-A-R-V-E-R. And it is basically used to cool and shape the glass. So as we're blowing glass, we roll it on that table. And we can use it to selectively cool the glass as we're blowing things out. And we can use it to shape up the glass. So you guys don't forget, if you're local, we're going to be demoing for about an hour or so longer. The beignet bus is out here with us. So if you're feeling like getting some beignets and coffee or beignets and hot chocolate, come on down. Hang out with us. Their beignets are delicious. So hopefully you'll get a chance to come out. I think those arms were a little longer than that though. So Clifton's putting in a constriction. Same way as we did for the other three pieces if you've been hanging out with us the whole demo. And that constriction is going to allow us to break off the piece as we get close to the end. So you're going to see that happen quite a bit if you tune into our live streams, or if you come watch all our demos in person. Or if you come make a piece, you're gonna probably put in a jack line at some point. Pretty cool. So one of the things you'll notice as Clifton is working is his left hand is always turning. Glass is super prone to succumbing to gravity, so we've got to keep things turning as we're working on them. So Clifton's got this bubble pretty well set up. Shaping it with a little bit of newspaper. And then once he's happy with the shape, we're going to cut in some legs on this bubble. So as this piece is cooling while Clifton is working on it, you can probably see on camera there's a little bit of a difference in color from one end to the other. That's the heat. So what you're seeing is a little bit of a heat variation in the glass. Once the glass cools down, the color is going to look completely different. It's still going to be kind of a brownish color, where we're going to see a little bit of a color change once this is back down at room temperature. All right. All right. So the next step is going to be to flatten the glass. If you've been hanging out with us for a little while, you saw Kevin do this already. So Kevin's got these cork paddles in his hands right here, and we're going to squish it. We're going to squish it, flatten it out, and And then the plan is to cut in some legs after that. Are we gonna?
Yeah. Boy, that made it hot enough.
All right. A little squishy, squishy.
One more.
His arms, he's gonna look really weird with his big arms. His arms are like that.
He didn't swing them. Like the bottom half.
At the net.
Huh?
Needs a little more squish at the net. This is the only chance we're gonna get right about now.
All right. His neck is that shape. All right. So we got a little squish. Clifton's using a little bit of paper.
Cut back. Legs about that match. Take this. Yeah, and I can stretch, now that I got it flat, I can stretch that bottom down like Kevin suggested. Take that bottom and make it a little bit longer. A little more
But
body.
just make the leg shorter. Don't cut up so high. You know? But those buttons are. We gotta get the icy waist. And then gotta have a little spot for the. Yeah, that's right.
All right. So this bubble right here, this little flattened bubble, it is going to be the torso, but also the legs. So Shatara is working with Clifton on proportions to make sure that the arms are not going to look too weird when they're attached.
Yes, theory.
And then Clifton's giving it a little marking as a guideline.
Give it a little cut, a little spot to aim.
You wanna go to the end of the cut?
Go right to the crotch.
Right, the dots come into the cut.
Okay.
That's it. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
You use the big guys?
Yeah, I'll use the big guys.
Wanna get on light?
I'm gonna do it
Hi,
straight
Trina.
down.
Thanks for joining us online.
You want me to hold it? You got it?
Yeah, I probably have you hold it.
Okay. Straight up and down. Angle.
Probably straight up and down.
Spin it around in a circle.
Straight up and down.
That way it'll stretch at the same time.
All right. So you can see here that Clifton is selectively heating with the torch. We are gonna take some shears, I think, and we're gonna cut right into this little bubble.
That smells delicious.
So Clifton doesn't want a bunch of things moving as he's doing this, so he's selectively heating with a torch. Earlier in this broadcast, I said teamwork is a big part of what we do here. So you're gonna see at this point that everyone's gonna start to kind of jump in, to hang out, and help make this thing a reality. Right. So Clifton's going in with a pair of shears. And it's just gonna cut right into that bubble. That's pretty cool. All right. And what that's gonna do is give us the legs. So we can go in, yeah, that looks great. So we can go in now, refine the shape. And then once they're happy with the shape, we're gonna start adding parts. So we've got the arms set aside, we've got the head set aside, the buttons. And so once Clifton and the team is happy with the shape, we're gonna go ahead and start assembling this guy. So I'm gonna take a quick breather to get some water. I'm gonna set you guys down, and I'll be back in 5 minutes to continue with narrating. So Kevin's doing a little more cave drawing on these legs here. We're going for, I think, a similar design to the arms. So those little wiggly lines we saw like a little while ago, if you've been hanging out with us on our broadcast. Similar to that.
All right. Waist. Sure.
All right. So for those of you who are joining us and haven't been watching, we are doing Jinji from Shrek. So some of you might be familiar with this character. We're making something similar to him.
How far above?
And for those of you who missed our tree lighting ceremony tonight, this video will be on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page after we broadcast. So feel free to check it out online after we end this live broadcast.
Like a hot.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Thanks, Ken. Especially the one with the
Found its mate. Found its mate.
one where it does.
I don't know, what do you guys think? That look like icing on gingerbread? Because it sure does to me. In fact, actually, Kevin made gingerbread cookies and brought some in for us today, so I think he was getting a little bit of practice at home before.
Yeah, icing's a lot easier.
Icing's a lot easier. That looks great.
Sure.
Are we putting those little lines on his legs?
Pardon?
Are you putting the little lines on his legs?
The stitches?
Yeah.
I don't want to break his legs.
Okay, got it. All right. So it sounds like our team's ready to bring parts over. Tatara's heating up this little plate. If you've been watching our demo for a while, you know that we put a bunch of goodies into this box here that's sitting at about 950 degrees. And so this is the point at which the demo gets real interesting and exciting. So if you have kids at home that have watched Shrek before, this is probably a good time to pull them in to watch if you think they might be interested in this. So what we're gonna do is pull out some of our parts that we put in this box. So the head, the buttons, the arms, and we're gonna slowly assemble it on this body. So Clifton is heating up a little spot for us to drop that little button onto. And Tatara is heating up one of those little gumdrop buttons. All right. So teamwork here and communication are super important. Both of them are communicating with each other and making sure that they're both ready to go. Tatara made these little gumdrop buttons earlier. So those are, they've got a little bit of powder color on them. Some hot pink? It looks lavender.
That is hot pink.
Huh. All right. So that color might change.
A lot.
It's gonna change after we are done with it. Ooh, that's tricky. Ooh. Nice. Oh, that looks like sugar.
Is it hot? A little hot.
All right.
I think the color's coming off.
Oh, yeah.
Scraped off. Just grabbing it.
I think that'll be okay if it goes a little bit shiny.
I tried to get it off of the
It's okay.
thing,
It doesn't
but
have
it's
to
not
be,
really not
yeah.
even cooked on. It's falling off.
You ready for the other one?
All right. So we tried to make the glass powder look a little sugary on the outside. And it's coming off a little bit, so probably didn't get cooked in enough. So Clifton's going in with a little bit of a spot heat, trying to make sure that a little bit,
Yeah. Just thinking the same thing.
that the color's a little bit more stuck on there. Tatara's got the next gun drop ready to go. So the same process that we saw before, picking up out of that little box. Making sure the temperature is correct. Clifton's got a spot ready to go.
Okay. Yep.
All right. And then Tatara very carefully bringing over that little gumdrop. Oh, that's so cute. Looks like sugar. Very nice.
Okay.
Arms?
Yeah, I guess we can do arms now.
You want to do the arms on the punny, Kev, or on the pipe?
Probably on the pipe. Get them a little hotter out there. Let's put it on it.
We want to do icing? We're going to do white cookie? Just clear. Cookie, the base. Me too. I think clear is nice. Yeah, let's do clear.
Yeah. So Clifton's doing a little bit of shaping. What the team's gonna do is they're gonna drop some clear glass into a ring on the marver. So this guy right here, we're gonna drop a little bit of clear glass into that, and then we're gonna stick Jinji on that so that we have a nice little platform for him to stand on. So Tatara's gathering a little bit of clear glass out of our furnace. Right. So Tatara's gathering out of our furnace that sits at about 2100 degrees pretty much all the time.
I think we're going to need to
The glass when it comes out of the furnace is kind of like honey. It's got a very similar viscosity, except it's a lot hotter. And so the team's kind of talking it out. They're planning what to do. Tatara is kind of shaping up this gather. She's gonna gather one more, I think. So we're going into the furnace. We're gonna gather a little more glass. Oh, too hot. We're gonna gather a little more glass after Tatara chills off this glass a little bit. Sometimes when we're rushing through things, it doesn't go the way we need it to go. So we're gonna chill out for a second, wait, and then we'll gather up a little more glass. Yeah, there we go. All right. So Tatara's got a big chunk of glass. We're gonna drop it right into that ring there. Trim it down. Kevin's gonna heat that blob of glass a little bit to make sure it melts down. And then we're gonna stick Jinji to it. Get it nice and toasty. So if we remove this ring too quickly, it's gonna lose its shape. So we gotta make sure the edges are kind of a little bit cool, not too cold. I'm gonna remove it and then stick Jinji to it. So he's got a nice base to stand on once we are done with him. Nice. Oh, nice. Beautiful. All right, so this has got a base now. Tatara's got a little glob of glass on the end of this rod right here, which is gonna be our punty. So we're gonna do a little bit of a transfer on this piece. So those of you who have watched with us before, you've seen us do this transfer, which is called a Punty Transfer, probably several times. And so this is a way of transferring the piece from one pipe, so maybe a blowpipe or another punty, to a punty so that we can shape the other side. All right. So Tatara is shaping up this punty. It's just a little glob of glass on the end there. Shaping it up on the marber. And then once Clifton is ready, once he's got the right heat, once things aren't moving too much, Tatara's gonna stick that punty on the end. Good call. Oh.
Somewhere in the body.
On its foot.
Somewhere in the body where the back is more close, where the hair can escape.
Its anus.
We're a kid-friendly show.
It's a normal hole.
I know, but still.
It's a real hole.
I know, but
A
still.
hole in the back is not a real hole.
But I don't think Jinji has that.
Just saying.
Point me in a direction.
Wait, does Jinji have a tail? No, right? There's nothing on the back, right? On his back?
For a cankle.
Oh, right. That's right.
You good. I'm not gonna bring that up.
Blake's
We'll bring
laughing.
that up later, Blake. I know, right?
Hey, I've had a long day, okay? I'm allowed to make mistakes.
Okay.
All right, so we're using this tungsten rod to make a little hole for the same reason that we did with the arms, and we didn't do it with the head, but we are gonna remember to do it with the head.
I think I got it.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Now he won't blow up.
So that little hole is gonna allow for the air inside the glass to contract without putting pressure on the glass. You guys know as heated air cools down, it contracts. It takes up less space. And so we are making sure that the heat is able to move between the outside and the inside of the piece. All right. So we're ready for the Punty transfer. Tatara's got a Punty here. We're gonna stick it on the bottom of that big cookie base. Yeah. Clifton's putting a little water on that jack line to make sure that it is cooler than the rest of the piece. And then when he gives it a little tap, it breaks off. So Tatara's heating that spot where Clifton put water, just to make sure those cracks don't run. That looks pretty good. Don't forget to put a hole somewhere in the head.
No, we don't need to now. We put a hole in the body. We're
Oh,
gonna attach the head.
got it.
Hold the hole.
Got it. Yeah, don't seal that up.
What do you want to do first? Arms or head?
Arms.
All right. I thought the bottom of the head was, no, it wasn't closed off, right? No. All right. So this part is a pretty exciting part. We're gonna start picking up parts for this guy. So we put on the buttons. Those were a couple of the small parts.
Pick it up and hot torch that.
Area that we're gonna stick it.
Yeah, hot torch your side of things so that can kind of get cleaned up so that it's not like
Okay.
we're not trying to clean that up on this side of things, you know?
Okay.
All right. You guys see those little arms there? We're gonna pick up those arms. All right.
Kevin, give me the Sophie, please.
Sophie?
The Sophie out up in that bench, too. Sophie, bench, too.
All right. So we had a little bit of cracking, which Shatara is going to attempt to fix.
Say what?
Sometimes as we're working, things go wrong. It is glass after all. But it seems pretty good at kind of figuring it out as we
Kevin, will you
go.
have Sophie, please? Thank you.
Right. All right. So Clifton's going to keep this piece warm while Tatara adjusts / fixes the little crack if possible. It's looking pretty good so far. Looks like she's got it mostly heated out. The true check is blowing into it to make sure it's actually not blowing out from that area.
We're going to pick it up on the plate next time.
Okay.
I think they're too thin, too hollow to stick hot. That's why that crack right where it stuck it.
Yeah. All right. There's a very fine crack right where you're, heating. All right.
Alright.
All
Are
right.
you hot? Are you hot?
I've got some heat started.
Okay.
We're trying to chase it with the upward speed.
Want to stick it on that so that we can get the furnace heat and it can be a little bit more stable. Right now it's not stable, it's not running so tight. Can't really get it like super hot.
All right. Tatara's doing final adjustments just to make sure everything's kind of heated in.
Love you, team. Happy holidays.
It's cleaned up at this point, it was real hot. Yeah, but then we have Ready? Gotta be the other side. Ready? Got me?
All right. Awesome.
Little one, big one?
Okie doke. So we got one arm on now, which is looking pretty good.
Got that other
Tatara is going to grab the other arm and we're going to stick it on as well. And then once we've got the arms on, we can do some final adjustments. You didn't want to grab it on the plate? Okay. 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 All right. All right. So Tatara is going to go in and pick up this next arm. Sticking it on the end there. It's that. And then we flash the glass a little bit to make sure it doesn't crack. So the inside of that reheating chamber is quite a bit hotter than the pickup box that we just picked that piece out of. So we've got to very carefully heat the glass to make sure it doesn't crack.
Yeah, we might want to bump that box up a little hotter for the head so the head doesn't break.
So Clifton's doing a few adjustments to the shape. Tatara is heating up this arm. That looks pretty good.
See, after you get that, you get this arm on, just get the SiNaCa stamp out, stamp this base.
Okay.
Oh, the end cracked there again. So Tatara is going to heat it. So Tatara is heating it up to make sure that crack it's kind of healed up a little bit. All right.
Yep.
All right. Sticking his little arm off and giving it a little tap to separate it from that punchy.
Get that out of the door. All of that. Just flying, man. Just flying.
Does that arm have a hole in it?
Do what?
Does that arm have a hole in it?
Yes, it's in his. It's right here underneath.
Yeah,
the
they both
Oh, okay, okay, okay. It's so subtle.
Put it right underneath.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
You got it?
So Clifton's got the body shaped up quite a bit here. We're planning on putting a little SiNaCa stamp on the base. So he is heating this little spot on that clear cookie in the back. And we've got this cool little SiNaCa stamp that we're gonna stamp on the back there. So a little bit of spot heat. Little stamp. That looks great.
Lord. Careful.
All
Careful
right.
on the bleachers, kids. All right, let's put a head on.
The one on the pie flat, or I mean, is the head flat, the whole?
Yeah,
Okay.
both of them. Should go together pretty well. I don't know if they're the right size, but they're probably pretty close.
All right. So Clifton's doing a little bit of shaping just to finesse the body a little bit. Tatara's shaping up a punty. That is going to be what we pick up the head with. Oh, another one. We're going to do that again. So once Clifton's kind of happy with the shape, we're going to go in with this head. I think the head was one of the first things we started with. So if you've been watching this entire time, you're going to see this whole thing come together. Because you saw the head get made earlier in the demo, about a couple of hours ago. And if you weren't around at that point, you're about to see it kind of come together. You can always go back and watch this live stream once we stop broadcasting. It will be up on our Facebook as well as our YouTube channel. Tatara is gathering a little bit of glass on the end of that punty there. Rolling it across the marver to shape it up. And then pulling it off. She's going to use that to pick up the head, Jinji's head. so we can attach it to the body. All right. So Tatara is very gently heating the head. Taking off some of the debris from the kiln. So sometimes when we have glass in that little kiln, a little bit of dust gets on the back. So she's got to get that off so it doesn't cook onto the glass. Don't stick it on backwards. Then he'd really be curious. All right. So we're gonna heat the body up. They were just checking sizes at this point. Once they both feel good about the heat, the shape, we're gonna stick it together. We gotta put a hole in the head.
There's a hole in the body.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But we're going to cover the seam with the scarf.
Got it. All right. So Clifton's got to get that connection point a little warm to make sure, well, I say a little warm, but really it's nice and gooey so that the glass will actually, the head will actually stick to that. So cold glass is just going to kind of clink. You guys know that sound. And so we've got to heat up both connection points to make sure that the glass sticks together. So that selective heating with a little torch is super important when you're working with parts. Both of them are communicating with each other, making sure they're both kind of working together to get everything heated up real nice. And then Tatara is doing the final heat, I think.
There you look, Cliff. One more good flash on my side.
All right. Clifton's got one more flash, so he's giving it a little bit of heat again where that connection point's gonna be. And then he's gonna give it a little flash to get the whole body kind of nice and even. Tatara's giving it the final flash. We're gonna stick it on. Nice and gentle. Oh, that's such a good shot. So cute.
Cool. Good.
So now with a little bit of a cold spot, we're gonna knock that punty off. Oh, it looks so good. Oh, it looks
He's
great.
attitudinal.
It looks so. It's literally him from that scene. That's perfect. so perfect.
Ready for a start?
Do you want? Are you guys? Do you want to add a scarf? It looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks really good. I wouldn't add anything.
Okay.
I think the scarf will just be like stuck to him.
Yeah.
It won't match the other stuff. Because Kevin, this is all looks really clean.
Yeah.
Consistent.
No. Oh, too close to me.
Hey, make sure you clean that head up. Clean that head up.
All right.
Captain, we're kind of
What?
Captain, knock out the tip. Yeah. Can you see right there?
What?
Can you see that?
Yeah.
His head's on fire!
Take it down a notch. This is high stress right now.
We can put a little bite mark on it.
All right.
Thank you.
No, it's a little flat.
You what?
A little flat.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
Took a little piece out, I guess. A little gumdrop on his head or something.
I've got one. Maybe if you hold it down just a bit, it'll hang down. Round it out with a drag or something.
That looks so good.
Okay.
Couple flashes. We'll be there.
All right. So now we are going to flash the piece down. That means slowly kind of heating the piece without getting it too hot and not letting it get too cold. So Clifton's taking flashes to make sure all the heat's kind of even. He likes the shape of it. That's awesome. Don't even. All right. So Clifton's got to make sure that all of the heat is even. Generally, uneven heat tends to work against us a little bit. Nice.
I don't know where it's moving. I guess it's in his legs. That's what I'm worried about. I don't want that to crack. You know?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
We got one down on his ankle. It should be good.
Yeah. Alright, let's do it.
You gonna throw me on the jack?
No, it's gonna pop right
All
out.
right.
Okay.
So once we're done with a piece, we take a few flashes. We saw Clifton do that. This is his last flash. He's kind of evening out the heat a little bit. And then you can see Kevin's kind of suited up in some protective heat Kevlar gear, which is to protect him from the heat. So in order to get this glass to cool down nice and safely, we're gonna put it away in an annealer. So Clifton's putting a little water on the part that he wants to break. We're gonna polish that bottom clear chunk. Nice. And then the piece goes into an annealer, which is basically a hot box to slowly cool it down. Nice. Awesome. Nice job. That looks awesome. So you guys, in a little bit, I'm gonna have Clifton just sign off for you guys. But remember, we do this event once a month, every month, on the second Friday. It is called our Open Studio Night series, and we usually feature different artists. So we do these team demonstrations every so often. If you missed this one, in December of next year, we will be doing another exercise. And we will talk to Clifton here in a little bit. So remember, you can come on out, check us out. In January, we will be doing this one again. We'll be doing another Open Studio Night again on the second Friday of the month. So don't forget, every month, basically, second Friday of the month, we'll do these Open Studio Nights. I'm gonna have Clifton just say a few words about our sponsors. Hey, Clifton.
Thanks for joining us for our Open Studios Night for December 2021. I want to recognize the Arts Council of Fort Worth. I want to recognize the Texas Commission on the Arts. We're so grateful for all the support this time of year, especially. And so I really want to just recognize the team and everybody involved tonight, and really everybody involved with SiNaCa Studios School of Glass. You guys should come and take a class. You should come and check out the gallery and support your local artists. But really, thank you to all the donors. I want to thank the board of directors, past and present, the R4 Foundation, the Carol Ann, the Ann L. and Carol Green Roads Charitable Trust. There's so many wonderful people out there that support us, and we're really grateful, and we really appreciate you all. Thanks so much. Y'all have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. We'll see you in 2022.
Thank you, Clifton.
Yes. Thank
All right.
you, Jean. Nice work.
Take care, you guys. We'll see you next month.